Okay, what up, everyone? We are live. It's your host, John Mosales, at John Mosales, Anthony Quaranta, at AQ Fresh. It's a Fantasy NFL Today show. It is hot. It's the middle of summer. Football's heating up. We got OTAs. We got all sorts of stuff going on. Today, we're going to go over Anthony's crazy best ball article that he spent a lot of time on. It's his baby. We're going to finish recapping the NFC, which we started with Rick Kamla. Check out that episode. You should check out Anthony's article. If you're watching on Twitter, not all our episodes are available on this platform, so join us on YouTube, like, subscribe, that whole thing. Okay, Anthony, what's going on?
Oh, not much. It is hot. It is best ball summer, and we are in the thick of it.
Best ball summer, I like that. Okay, so just talk to us about your best ball article. Not little, sorry, it was huge. But how was the process? What did you learn, uncover? Any secrets of the trade?
Sure. So this is my third year playing best ball, and I've noticed over those past 2 years that there seems to be a couple of late round guys that are like the 17th, 18th round guys that you're hardly ever drafting that hit, right? Like in 2023, it was the big Puka Kyren breakout for the Rams. Tank Dell was another great late round pick.
Because he finished the year strong, right? Because he wasn't that great during the season.
Who was that?
Tank.
Yeah. He got hurt towards the end of the year, but he was on fire, at least when he was available and healthy. And then last year you had Juwan Jennings was the big one. He came out of nowhere to really have a really strong season for you. And then you can even look at Alec Pierce, who was incredible as well. A guy that wasn't drafted his third year. Kind of seemed like the Colts kind of forgot about him. And then all of a sudden he goes off for like 7 games with like almost 20 points or something like that. It was
I think he led the league in yards per reception.
Yeah, something like that. He was great. So all in all, there's got to be something to it on hitting those late round guys. And then stacking is really important in best ball, at least for me. I think it just raises your ceiling another level. So I've always kind of wondered, like, does each team have a guy that's like worth drafting with that last pick, so that like if you drafted Juwan Jennings to your Brock Purdy teams, like you were really happy about it. So I decided to take a deep dive, scroll the F down as we like to say in the best ball community, and try to find maybe one of those late round skeleton keys that we end up needing.
I love that, skeleton keys. So I'm gonna steal that. Okay, so we won't go over the whole article, but what were some of your favorites? Like, are there certain teams that you're targeting? Is it more like the high octane offenses, like a Baltimore, Detroit, where a guy could really make a leap, or the teams people are more likely kind of forgetting about, maybe like the Saints, Panthers, where guys are going undervalued and could be the easy wide receiver ones on those teams?
So I think it kind of depends. So obviously you want like the high powered offenses because they're more likely to stumble into a touchdown here or there, or a big game if somebody gets hurt, because that's just how those offenses operate. But there's something to be said for the offenses that we're not expecting to be maybe as good, but there's a lot of ambiguity and opportunity for some of these low owned players to have, really.
Because I had not Meatloaf, Loaf of Bread. I forget his name already. I don't know if you watched that pod. He wore the mask, but he's like crazy best ball guy. Big Loaf. Thank you, Jesus. Sorry, Big Loaf. But he was saying he's going to go big on the Saints because they're that team that nobody's drafting anyone from. No one expects anything from, and they're still going to put up points, right? I know you love who's the wide receiver there? Their deep threat.
Rashid Shaheed.
I know you're the big Rashid Shaheed guy.
Yeah, especially in best ball. He, I think it was 3 or 4 of the first 6 weeks he spiked last season before he got hurt. So I love him. I think he's going around 106 at the moment, as in pick 106. And I love Rashid Shaheed. But we can start with the Saints because I actually really low key like the Saints too. It's one of the few teams where you can get a starting quarterback for free, right? Tyler Shuck is projected to be the starting quarterback over Spencer Rattler. They just spent a 2nd round pick on him. I'd be surprised if Shuck didn't start 15 games if he was healthy. I can understand if they want to play that, give him a game or two. But Spencer Rattler's not the answer, or else they wouldn't have drafted Chuck.
We'll see. I'm kind of on Spencer Rattler Island. I watched a lot of Saints last year. I wasn't super impressed with him, but we've seen these guys can take some time to develop.
Yeah. So some of them can. I just think that Kellen Moore, it's a new offense. It's a new coach. He went out and got his guy. They spent a second round pick on him, which I think surprised a lot of people. So I just think that they'll give him every opportunity. I'm sure Spencer Rattler might end up playing at some point. But I do like low-key stacking the Saints. If you've kind of run out of options on your QB2, you keep getting sniped. You can always kind of backdoor Shuck and Jawan Johnson, who were both of my picks for the Saints for this article. I think it provides a nice, again, stacking opportunity late in your drafts.
So you take Shuck as your QB2, not like QB3?
I would take Shuck as my QB2 if I had one of Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, maybe Joe Burrow. If I had one like Jaden Daniels as well, if I had one of the elite guys, I'd be fine with Tyler Shuck as my QB2 because ideally you're not going to need him except for maybe like a bye week cover.
True. Okay. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And if you do need him, you're probably screwed anyways, right?
By and large, but hey, he didn't really break out in college per se, but I like the Kellen Moore offense a lot, so I'm just kind of taking a bet on cost and opportunity in what should be a good offensive system.
Okay. So let's do a little combo. We'll finish wrapping up the NFC, and then we'll also kind of intermit your article in here, right? So we finished off with the NFC North, which is what would you say? I mean, best division in football, that in the AFC North?
Yeah, I mean, there really aren't many divisions better than that. All four teams should be pretty competitive.
So let's start with Green Bay, right? It's probably top 3 most crowded wide receiver room. Last year, it looked like Jaden Reed was going to pop. He was a wide receiver 1 in week 1. And then he had that 4-week stretch where I don't think he had more than 25 yards in any game. Christian Watson tore his ACL. He's been running. They also drafted the speedy guy out of Texas, Matthew Golden. What are you doing for the wide receivers? Are you drafting any of them? Are you just going late?
I'm back in the well on Jaden Reed. I just think that he's really good. If the Packers decide to use him, I think he really could be a wide receiver 1. Just betting on the talent more so than anything there with Jaden Reed.
Okay, and then the running back, so Josh Jacobs. I was a big fade on Jacobs last year. It was one of my biggest mistakes. Say la vie. I'm having a little brain fart here. They had the running back they drafted. A lot of people liked him, Marshawn Lloyd.
Yeah, Marshawn Lloyd.
I think they have another guy. Are you trying to fade Jacobs? Like, are you taking that backup situation? Because you're probably getting either guy for almost nothing.
Yeah, so at least in best ball, Marshawn Lloyd is like a 17th, 18th round pick. He could have made the article potentially. And then they have Emmanuel Wilson, who is largely going undrafted. But no, I'm fine with Josh Jacobs. The cost, he goes right around the 2-3 turn, and I'm fine with that as your workhorse RB1. He was just so good last year, and that offense is going to be really good that I just don't know that they're going to shy away from Josh Jacobs.
Okay. So now what do we do with Detroit, right? They were probably the best fantasy team in the league last year. If you had any of the pieces, right? The running backs were off. Jameson Williams went off. Sam Laporta, the only guy I was big on, was the only guy who didn't play well. Although last end of the season he did. Is there somebody who can emerge there, or is that offense just so stud centric that it's really hard for somebody to pop?
Yeah, so I think that there's the 5 guys, not including Goff, and I think that's probably going to be it. For best ball, if you want to target somebody late, I think it would be Isaac Tesla, however.
Yeah. I had to double check his spelling. I was like, "There's no way he spells it like this."
Yeah. I had to double check it as well. He's a different body type than what Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams offer. He's like 6'4" and like 220 or something like that, and JMO and Amon-Ra are both like under 6'1" and a little bit lighter. So he offers a different. Just a different, I guess, opportunity for the team to take advantage in different ways. So I think he could be a late round target, do something a little bit different role wise that this team hasn't had as they search for a reliable wide receiver three.
And also, like, people get hurt every year, right? Last year, the Lions were one of the healthiest teams on offense and the unhealthiest teams on defense, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Amon-Ra's never got hurt, but if he went down, guys can jump into roles, right? If you get a roll jump on that offense, I mean, you're going to go to the moon.
Yeah, and I another reason. So it was kind of between him or Tim Patrick for me. They're both kind of that same bigger type receiver, but the Lions gave up a lot of capital to move up and get Tesla. They gave up two third round picks plus they kind of pick swapped to move up. So it's like that's a lot to give up for a guy if you're not sure that he's going to be able to make an impact for you. So that was kind of the tiebreaker. But Tim Patrick is also an option if you want to go even more contrarian late in your drafts.
Yeah, and then especially with these guys, they're like lottery tickets, right? Do you have any like leagues where you're, I don't know, what's a good like over 20% on any of these late round guys? Like they're the guys you have to have.
No, not in any of these late round guys. The one I probably have most of currently would be Nick Westbrook Akine from the Dolphins. At one point, I had like 16%, but it's closer down to 10 now, as I really kind of only pair him with my Dolphin stacks or on the back end of like a Tampa Bay centric team because they play Week 17. If you want to dive into the weeds of the Week 17 correlation and does it really matter? So that's dwindling a little bit, but that's probably the one I have the most of at the moment. But that's probably likely to change.
Okay, and then so how like he's going what 100 like 160? I don't even know.
Westbrook Akine, no, he's going. Oh, let me pull it up. He's going. It's like 215 or something, like 215, 213. Yeah, he's going undrafted.
Oh, okay. Really? Even because he had that 8 games to touchdown streak last year, which was crazy.
It was something like that, but I know he had 9 touchdowns on like 32 receptions. But there was a long, the exact number I'm not totally sure, but yeah, he had quite a streak with touchdowns per game, or a touchdown in every game. Westbrook Akine is going about 214.
Okay, so if you want to get him, if you're getting the Tua, so would you take? So if he's going 214, would you take Westbrook Akine like 200, like a round or two earlier to make sure that you get him with your Tua stack?
Yeah, I wouldn't hate that. Like if you want to pick him in like the 17th round, if you're just kind of stuck and the timer's running down, I'm fine taking him a round or so early, just in case somebody wants to get a little cute and try to take him.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I don't mind. I don't mind taking most of these guys in the 17th round if you really need to.
Okay, let's move on to Minnesota. So Minnesota every year seems to get underrated, right? I was big on Darnold last year, and I'm not big enough to take him everywhere. Jesus, but are they QB proof? And my favorite of your entire article is the Sam Howell love because JJ McCarthy might not be good. He's also, I think, towards what is it, MCL? I'm not sure which CL, but even if he's not ready, if he gets hurt again, Sam Howell led the league in passing yards for 10 games 2 years ago in Washington. Is he your favorite backup QB? Are you taking him if you get Justin Jefferson? Are you taking him if you get JJ McCarthy? What are we doing with Sam Howell?
Sam Howell is my favorite QB too. I like to try to identify a QB2 every year that like has a lot of potential should something happen, is maybe in an ambiguous situation. The starter is, I don't want to say injury prone, but coming off of an injury like JJ McCarthy. Like you said, Sam Howell was a top 10 quarterback 2 years ago in Washington. So like the dude can play. And like you said, the Vikings might be like just one of those teams that you can plug and play anybody with that Kevin O'Connell offense. The elite weapons they have. I mean, yeah, I love Sam Howell. I haven't taken much of him really at all yet, but I might mix him in here a little bit. On my JJ McCarthy builds, I wouldn't mind. Like if I go McCarthy, just say like McCarthy Goff, or kind of that range, McCarthy, CJ Stroud, McCarthy, Matt Stafford, or something like that. And I kind of want to add a third quarterback, but no one's really sticking out at me. Yeah, I'm certainly happy to just tack Sam Howell on as insurance just in case McCarthy's knee doesn't hold up. he's not as good as we thought. Blah, blah, blah. So yeah, Sam Howell was probably my favorite QB2 this year.
Because I think I did the research. I think Minnesota, they've had at least QB 12 for like 5 years in a row, right? Even Kirk Cousins, when he tore his Achilles, like week 8, that Josh Dobbs came in from San Fran. He gave them like two top 10 QB weeks in a row. Then he got benched. Darnold, I think was maybe the QB 10 last year. Great O line, pass heavy offense. Justin Jefferson, the ultimate floor raiser. Jordan Addison broke out, and we get full healthy TJ Hawkinson, right? So was there anyone else in the Minnesota offense you're liking? I think was it Jalen Naylor?
Yeah, Jalen Naylor. If we're talking about the late round guys, it's definitely Jalen Naylor. I think he's pretty solidified as the wide receiver 3. He's on the field for close to 50% of the snaps, which I think for a wide receiver 3 in a good offense that is going for free in drafts, like if you're on the field half the time, like I'll take that. Like that is, you're not really going to get a ton more for that cost.
Plus the potential bump, right? Jordan Addison. I think he's got a off-field issue. Jefferson's pretty healthy, but he had that hamstring issue, right? If you get, if Addison got hurt, suspended, Naylor got that wide receiver 2 bump to Jefferson. I mean, what's his ceiling? Could he be a top 30 wide receiver?
I don't know if I'd go that far. I definitely think he can have some spike weeks where he finishes inside, like probably even like the top 15. If he's the wide receiver 2, I think he can help you have some of those spike weeks. But I don't know if I would say overall kind of the wide receiver 30.
That's true. Probably aggressive.
But I think they would probably just hyper target Justin Jefferson and lean a little bit more on Hawkinson should Addison get suspended or decide to take a vacation or win the lottery.
Okay, what about Jordan Mason? I think I was iffy on him, but I think Nathan wrote about him, and I got sold. What are you doing with like the RB2s generally? Do you target like the RB2s and hope for that Chase Brown, Bucky Irving jump? Is Jordan Mason one of those guys that you seem like in a nice sweet spot?
Yeah, I'm happy to take Jordan Mason at times. I don't love him at cost. I would really like it if he was going like around later. But I definitely mix him in on my Vikings teams, or if I know that I'm going with a Detroit stack, and I need a running back and he's on the board, I'm happy to take him for that week 17 correlation. But I like Jordan Mason. I think that the upside is there. I should
talk to me about the week. So you keep saying the week 17 correlation. What do you mean?
So there's this, I guess, ongoing theory or conversation or whatever word you want to use in the best ball community about how much stacking your week 17 games matters, because the finals are week 17. So that's kind of where like the big money's made in a lot of these tournaments. So the idea is if you stack a week 17 game that's like high powered offenses, like just for example, I just mentioned the Lions and the Vikings, they play week 17, right?
Oh, wow. Nice. Jesus.
2 great offenses. Could be a shootout, could be a ton of points, fantasy wise, NFL wise. The theory is in week 17, you want those games stacked so that like when Jared Goff hits Amon-Ra St. Brown for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, you have Jordan Addison on the other side, who to keep up. The Vikings are throwing the ball a lot, and he ends up with 75 yards and 2 touchdowns on his own. It really kind of raises your upside in week 17 to hit a big week and hopefully cash in big on one of these tournaments.
Okay, I mean that sounds great, and that's something I'd probably follow. But it's just you're playing small windows against in a crack, right? Because we had the Lions Vikings in week 17, I think, or week 8. Was it week 18 last the end of the season? I remember I had all these crazy bets on it, and that was when Darnold melted down, and it actually was a low scoring game, and nobody hit. I think all the unders hit except like Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously, but.
Yeah, so that's definitely a big risk of it. And then also, like, you got to think, like, some of these tournaments have, like, 50,000, 100,000, 672,000 for the Best Ball Mania entries in these tournaments. Like, you have to make it to week 17 for it to even really matter. I follow it sometimes, like, if it falls together nicely, I'll certainly kind of go ahead and try to stack it, or, like, I'll use it as, like, a tiebreaker if I'm trying to, like, make a decision between 2 guys. But like if I have AJ Brown, like if I picked AJ Brown and now we're kind of back on the 3-4 turn, and say I want to take an elite quarterback and for whatever reason, I don't want to take Jalen Hurts just for the example. Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, the first two quarterbacks taken. Maybe I'll take Josh Allen in my AJ Brown Bills because they play Week 17.
Bills Eagles Week 17.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's an elite bring back for that game. So like sometimes I'll play it like that, but it's not something that I'm like dead set on for every draft.
Yeah.
But if it falls, I'm happy to do it that way.
And then is there any like uncorrelation? Like, the Eagles had a great defense last year. I think people are saying they might slip, but I don't know. At Baltimore, let's say it's Week 17, maybe you wouldn't want to take, maybe if it was Eagles Baltimore, maybe you don't take Saquon because, Baltimore is the best run D in the league. That might be something you would avoid, right?
Yeah, so it's definitely something to consider when thinking about your bringbacks for Week 17. Like you said, like if you're playing, if you know that they theoretically have an elite run defense, you might want to shy away from the running back and maybe kind of take the receiver from the team they play Week 17. So yeah, you can definitely think about that and strategize about it that way too.
Okay, so yeah, anybody watching, if you're on Twitter, jump over to YouTube. You can drop us a comment, like, subscribe. I'm also going to drop my Mosales 200 soon, which is going to be always going to be a little contrarian because I just
big time
don't follow. People just get put in spots for a reason, and sometimes people just don't want to, go upstream. I love going upstream. So check out our draft guide, sportethos.com. Discounts up to 60% to get access. We got also the all sport, right? Basketball kicks butt. We're in the middle of baseball season. Baseball guys are crazy. This is kind of the calm before the storm, and we're about to head right into it. So Matt Carmody, big fan. Matt, love you. He says Tucker Kraft's his favorite late round tight end. What do you think on that? Packers, because they got all these wide receivers. Is that a situation where you would like to target a tight end? Like Indy is the same thing, right?
Yeah. I'm coming around to Tucker Kraft a little bit more than I was. That offense is just going to spread it around a lot. They have a lot of receivers, but I mean, again, it's a different position. Obviously, he plays tight end, and I've seen reports that like they're talking about Tucker Kraft stepping up and playing a larger role and this, that, and the third. So I'm happy to buy Tucker Kraft at cost. I don't know that he's my favorite in that kind of range per se, but I've kind of been slowly increasing my exposure on Tucker Kraft for sure.
He had some monster games, but I don't like going for the tight end when there's like a lot of wide receivers. Like there's a lot of Tyler Warren buzz. I think you were bigging him up. I know you're kind of big on the Colts because of Danny Dimes, but I mean they got 4 capable wide receivers, right? I know you have an Ingram, right? I like to go for a tight end in an offense that's not as wide receiver heavy.
Evan Ingram, yeah. Evan Ingram, I would definitely prefer Ingram over Kraft if we're going to talk about that. Although Ingram goes a little bit earlier, but that's because I think that there's, in his realm of possibilities for Ingram, he can have over 100 catches. I think this season, which is something that you really love from a tight end, and I just don't think that Tucker Kraft gets there because, like you said, what do they have? They have Reed, Golden, Dobbs, and Wicks.
Yeah.
Christian Watson has looked. I mean, he posted a video, I think, on social media. What was it, a couple weeks ago, maybe and he was looking good running.
But we've learned we don't trust videos. We don't trust summer Twitter videos anymore.
Yeah, no. I mean, the expectation is that he's going to miss most of, if not all, the season. I'm not picking him anywhere. Like, I'm just not going to bet on that. But if he does come back at some point like that, that's just going to be a really spread it out offense, opposed to one of the more condensed offenses that we talked about, like the Vikings per se.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to the Bears. So, how would you rank the NFC North? Like, how do you think it finishes quickly?
The Lions. Just off the cuff. The Lions will probably win the division again. I'll probably take the unknown upside in the Vikings to finish second. And then I think it'll be the Bears and the Packers fighting for third and fourth. There's really an argument for any team to win this division, but I think if you're going to put me in a bind, that's probably the order I have it in. It would be Lions, Vikings, and then pick your poison between the Packers or the Bears for fourth.
Okay. So Bears, they were just a mess last season, right? They kind of fired everyone. The O-line was a joke. Now they bring in Ben Johnson, right? Offensive genius behind Detroit. They've stacked the O-line. Are we buying Chicago? You give me a little kick back to me, Mike, sir.
Yeah.
How do you rank them for fantasy? Who do you want the most?
As far as like teams or specific
No,
players
in the
from the
Bears. On the Bears.
Oh, on the Bears. Okay. I really like Roma
Right.
Dunze at cost. Probably a Dunze. Odunze and I think more are probably still going to be the 1 and 2 this season. Obviously, Odunze is going to step up because last year he was the 3 behind Keenan Allen. Those are probably the 2, but Odunze is my favorite Bear, I think.
I think I get it. See, I don't do the diversification enough. I'm the guy that every time a Doomsday comes up in that spot, I have to take him. I mean, he got a ton of red zone targets. They're just a mess. I think that offense will take off. 2-tier 2, and they like to pass. What about the rookie tight end? Is it Colston Loveland or something?
Yeah, Loveland. I don't know how much I'm trusting him this season. I know he had a shoulder surgery in the offseason, I think from an injury in college. Tight ends generally take a little bit to develop, unless your name is Brock Bowers.
Or Sam Laporta.
Or Sam Laporta. Even Trey McBride took like a year and a half to really kind of get going as he sat behind, what's his name, Zach Ertz. Cole Kmet is no slouch. He's had some big games. He was actually my pick for the Bears because once they drafted Loveland at 10, I mean, Cole Kmet really just was banished to the cellar in fantasy football. I think Loveland's a really good dynasty pick. I think he's going to be really good long term. But if we're talking about this year, he's definitely not my favorite tight end to target. And I really like taking Cole Kmet at the end of drafts where you have the Bears or the 49ers who they're playing week 17.
I love it. Yeah, I don't know if you have the schedule up or you got all these week 17 memorized. But that's badass. So what about Caleb, right? I think I saw a stat. The Bears have never had a QB throw for, is it 30 touchdown, 4,000 yards? Do you think he breaks that this year?
It's either going to be this year or next year. I always worry a little bit about when young quarterbacks get a new coach, especially like early in their career.
Okay.
So I like to kind of account for like some slow starts for that. But I mean, Caleb Williams was really an all-time prospect. Everybody's so excited about the Ben Johnson offense. There's a lot of talent in Chicago. So it's certainly possible. I wouldn't be surprised by any means, but if I was betting on it, which I probably am not, I would say that it'd be a better bet next season than this.
True. But it's always better to be early than late, kind of, right? When you're picking guys to pop, when your guys are going to fade, like the Tyreek Hill, I think it's better to be like fade them early than ride the wagon until it falls off. But I mean, Caleb's got that running ability. If the O-line's improves, he's got the weapons. I was like, I don't know. I'm pretty big on Caleb. Let's check it. What's his ADP? He's probably going around QB 12.
His ADP,
yeah, QB 12.
Yeah. So I definitely have my fair share of Chicago teams. They just kind of fall nicely with ADP to stack up, and I think, like I said, I think it's very possible that they are awesome.
They got Luther Head too, right? Then they drafted a wide receiver.
Luther Burden.
Who's Luther Head? I think he used to play basketball.
I'm not sure who Luther Head is, but Luther Burden's supposed to be really good too. It might take him a little bit of time, just because there's already a couple of really good pass catchers on that offense, and then we've got DeAndre Swift out of the backfield who can play has that Jahmyr Gibbs skill set. So
nicest thing anyone's ever said about him.
What was that?
That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said about DeAndre Swift.
What? Yeah, especially Ben Johnson, who really kind of got rid of him, it seems like, as soon as he could when he was with Detroit. But who knows? Maybe it works out for them in Chicago.
Okay.
John, you froze or broke up there for a second. I don't know if it was just on my end, but if you could repeat that.
Yeah, once I don't know what's happening.
John?
I'm here, but it's my internet didn't cut out. Oh, let's just give it a second.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I can hear you, so I guess we can keep going.
Okay, great. My screen's showing it's loading. I think maybe. Anyways, so I know Atlanta. You've been big on Atlanta all spring. Talk to me. Talk to me. But what?
I love the Falcons. I'm so excited to talk about them.
Oh,
I think that this is the offense this is my favorite offense to target. At cost in general, I'm willing to overpay. I love the Falcons. I love the upside. And it was a 3-game sample size with Michael Penix last year, but I mean, they really they looked like they were a team that was ready to explode. And I'm all in. I'm all in on it this year.
all in. I know you Drake London. You had him as like your wide receiver, like what 5 or 6 last year. I think I tried to make you bump him down. You refused, and he was a monster. So
yeah, I definitely had him in the top 10. He did finish as the wide receiver 5, if you include the Week 18. Without Week 18, if my memory serves, he was the wide receiver 9. So still top 10. But yeah, no, I just think that the ceiling is just astronomical this season. It really could be a very condensed offense as well. Between Drake London, Darnell Mooney, and Bijan Robinson, maybe Kyle Pitts. Who knows? I like Kyle Pitts at cost, though, as tight end 18 in the 15, 16 round of best ball drafts. Like, I'm still taking the bet on Kyle Pitts as my tight end, too. I just think he's just so talented that I'm so willing to eat that cost, like I said, in kind of the back end of your drafts.
So the Penix thing, let's talk about Atlanta. Do you know what happened to their offense in those last 3 games? What do you think they averaged points per game?
Probably like 35.
Yeah, I think it was 32. So 35. Well, way to ruin the game. But Drake London, I think he was seeing like 5 more targets and like 40 more yards.
Yeah.
And so it's just, but why is Penix? My Wi-Fi went down, so I'm having trouble pulling stats. But he is. What do you think he's? You know, oh, you probably know. What's he going as right now? QB what?
Probably like QB. What is he like? 18, 20?
Yeah, 24.
24. Wow, really? He's going that low.
But I get it. He's not running, but if that offense is going to explode, great O-line, likes to pass, a lot of weapons. I guess he's injury prone, but like, I mean, he's got 4,500 yard 30. He's got 4,500 yard 30 touchdown season on the table. Right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I absolutely think so. They seemed to throw the ball more last season when Penix was in the game, and I don't know if it was just a game script thing. Again, it's small sample size, so it could have been any number of reasons. But so the Falcons threw the ball like 32 times a game last year. In the last 3 games where Penix played, they threw the ball over 35 times twice, including a 38 pass attempt game. I think that they are probably going to creep closer to that 35 plus number this year. Look, they didn't draft Michael Penix in the top 10 last year if they didn't think the world of him. And they didn't even play him in the preseason. They played him for 1 drive, I think, or like a couple drives in the first preseason game. And they said, you know what? We've seen enough. This guy is incredible. We are just going to – sorry, you threw me off there closing your screen. No, you're good. They said, we're gonna put this guy on ice. We don't want anything happen with his knee. Like he's ready. So I'm all in. I'm all in on the Falcons. I love Ray McCloud as well. Ray McCloud is probably my favorite, one of my top 3 or 4 favorite guys I wrote about this season. He had 87 targets last year.
Wow, Jesus.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that. Which was
they brought everyone back too, right?
Yeah, they brought everyone back. They made no changes, no major changes. That is, as far as like their pass catchers. Kyle Pitts is like, who knows? Again, I'm taking the bet at cost, but like he's still such a mystery. Like he might never really break out at this point. So again, in one of those offenses that I think is going to be explosive, score a ton of points, I'm happy to take the wide receiver 3, who, although is an 8-year veteran, seemed to have the strange late career breakout. And I'll take 80 targets in a strong offense in the last round.
So we talked about guys that sleepers that broke out last year. Darnell Mooney's one that kind of goes under the radar, right? He was on the Bears. I think he had a 1,000-yard season, maybe as a rookie second year. Goes to Atlanta, and he broke out, right? Sometimes he was better than Drake London. Is Mooney a guy you're targeting, or is it you like that Ray McCloud, that wide receiver 3, because it's just the ADP value?
No, I'm targeting Darnell Mooney as well. I think he's going around pick 85 in best ball drafts. I don't know the exact receiver, like whether it's wide receiver 45 or 50 or whatever it is. I'm targeting him. I love him. I was in on him last year when he was going in like the mid hundreds. Yeah, I'm targeting everybody on this.
But so you said Tyler Shuck's your favorite QB2. Then shouldn't Penix be your favorite QB2?
So what? Penix probably is my favorite QB2. I think what I meant was as far as like if you miss out on like all of like your like mid-round stacks, like say you had Drake London and Darnell Mooney and you got sniped on Michael Penix for whoever, and you missed out on Penix, then I'm comfortable waiting to take Shuck, and I'm okay with that. But I would much, if you can get Michael Penix with one of these Falcons pieces, then like you do that. You absolutely do that.
So if you get Drake London, so you'll take Drake London, maybe 12th overall?
So he's going at 15. I think I took him 10 yesterday in a draft. I was trying to get a little bit different. I've done well over 100 drafts at this point. So sometimes you just kind of try to get a little different, especially when drafting around the turn. So I took him at 10, and I took H-Han at, what would it be, 14 or 15. Felt like a fun start. And then, I'm going to take Michael Penix. Anytime I have Drake London, if I'm looking for a quarterback in that range that Michael Penix goes, I'm taking him around early.
Yeah.
Right. I just don't mess around. Like I'm just going to bite the bullet, make sure I get him.
So how good do you think this Atlanta offense would be? Funny, we haven't even talked about Bijan Robinson, but you think like top 5 offense, it can be there with that Buffalo, Baltimore, Detroit, maybe Philly?
I think this is a dark horse team to finish as the best offensive.
Oh!
That might be my hot take. That might be my hot take of the episode is, the Falcons, they're my dark horse.
Anthony's frozen. Well, my Wi-Fi keeps going out, but I guess I'm on data. But we got it in. Hot take. Sneaky number 1 offense. Okay. I love that. I love that. Yeah. Love that for you. Okay, let's keep going. So let's go Tampa, right? Liam Cohen moved to Jacksonville. They've been almost a sneaky offense back-to-back years, which is crazy because nobody thought they'd do it again. We got Mike Evans, his 1,000-yard streak. Chris Godwin, who was the wide receiver 2 in points per game before he got hurt. Jalen McMillan, who was the number 1 rostered team on championship teams last year. And they drafted Emeka Egbuka, I hope that's how I pronounce it, who was a lot of people's favorite wide receiver in the draft. What are we doing with Tampa?
My favorite player to buy in Tampa is Egbuka. I think he can really be the wide receiver 2 right away.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
So Chris Godwin is still – they're still not sure if he'll play week 1. I think there's a lot of optimism, but we're not sure. I think he had a pretty brutal ankle fracture.
Yeah.
Mike Evans is getting older. Was hurt last season. So, I think Egbuka could step right in and contribute day 1.
Okay, nice. And then what Jalen McMillan? McMillan was going to be one of my number 1 targeted players before the draft.
Me too.
But it's tough now. But I got my thing. I played these old wide receivers. Mike Evans he hit his 1,000 yards, but they kind of cheated, and he looked different. Honestly, he started the season slow. Godwin was great. Now both these guys have had injured last year. Are we worried about the Liam Cohen leaving and that affecting the offense, or we think Baker's just kind of locked in?
So that's definitely a little bit of a concern, but didn't they promote from within? So it's the continuity is still there. So I'm not overly concerned about it. But this offense might be a transition year for this offense where you start to see kind of some of the younger guys step in. We already saw it last year with Bucky Irving taking over for Rachaad White. That's obviously just going to continue this year, barring an unforeseen circumstance. I just talked about Mike Evans and Chris Godwin both being hurt. Still very good football players, but getting older, maybe a little bit more injury prone, things like that. You mentioned Jalen McMillan was going to be one of your big targets. Same. However, he kind of got pushed down a little bit now that they drafted Ibuka. He's still really good. So I feel like this might be a year where we start to see, even if it's just the back half of the year, we start to see the young guys start to step up a little bit more as the veterans take a lesser role in this offense. And in these tournaments, that is really back-weighted production as long as you can maintain for the first 2/3 or half of the season. Because all the money's made in the second half of the year, it kind of weighs that a little bit more again, as long as you can keep up. So I'm still very much in on the younger of the Buccaneers receivers.
Okay. Let's move Carolina. It's not that exciting, but I think you are one of the biggest Chuba Hubbard guys, right? You were big on him, I think, all season. He was, I got the stat here.
Yeah,
I had the stat.
I had
he
like
was on the
25%.
field. Oh, go ahead.
I had like 25% Chuba Hubbard last year. The price was just silly. And we're seeing it this year with Rico Dowdle, but we can talk about him in a minute.
But yeah, Chuba, he played 65.3% of the snaps, only behind Kyron Williams, Bijan, Saquon, and Breece Hall. Right, so it's like, and they said he's going to be on the field. They brought Dowdle in, who was really good to finish the year, but he's not really dual threat, so he's probably going to be like a hard RB2. So are we back on Chuba again this year? Do we like Carolina? Are they sneaky offense?
Yeah, I like Carolina. I like Chuba Hubbard. I like their running game more than their passing game, but I'm definitely buying Bryce Young at his price. The Panthers are a really easy team to backstack, and it's just a bonus if you get Tet McMillan or Chuba Hubbard. But to answer your question, yes, I am very much still in on Chuba Hubbard. He's got workhorse ability. He can catch passes. He was a 3-down back last year. I know that they want to kind of split the carries a bit and ease his workload, but I mean, if they need him, he's ready to ride. So.
And they should be a little better, right? So they're not going to be behind as much, right? They got blown out back-to-back games. The Saints killed them. I forget week 2 who beat them, but so yeah, okay, Carolina. And you like Tet? Because these rookie wide receivers, right? That for been 3 years in a row had been a trend where they were just popping out right out the gate, and all the value is on like Lad McConkey, Brian Thomas Jr., right? If you got Malik. Jalen McMillan, like I said, was the most rostered Yahoo player. Rome and Marvin Harris Jr. weren't as great. So it seems like the trend is caught up, and this is supposed to be a down year for wide receivers, but you're kind of ignoring that, right? You like Ibuka. You said you didn't really like Matthew Golden as much, but Carolina, Tet, you like Tet?
I like Tet. I don't love Tet. Okay. I'll probably be slightly underweight as far as my exposure goes, or maybe pretty average. So it's a volume bet with Tet, right? Until we really see it from the Panthers offense, it's tough to predict that he's going to explode for, 180 targets and 1,500 yards and like 12 touchdowns. Like that's just, it's hard to predict that with Bryce Young until we've seen it. So the bet is really that maybe he will see like 130, 140 targets as the clear top dog in Carolina. And that's enough to get it done. But that's the bet with him. And I don't want to hard fade because I want to have some exposure, but I don't love it at cost. But if I do have Tet, then I am very much trying to target Bryce Young.
Of course. So one of my things, I think the sophomore wide receiver bump is back. I think that wide receiver class last year was just so great. A lot of these guys are now under the radar, like Odunze, Jalen McMillan. What about Xavier Legette, right? He had that terrible drop against Philly where they could have beat Philly. Could you think that Tet's going to be wide receiver 1 and Xavier Legette's wide receiver 2, or are you liking Legette? Talk to me.
I think Jalen Coker is going to be the wide receiver 2.
Okay.
You can get him at 204 in your best ball drafts, which is a wonderful price to pay for a wide receiver 2. No, seriously, I don't like Xavier Legette. I wasn't in on him as a prospect. It's really that for me, when it comes to being a receiver, like step number 1, other than catching the ball, of course, is running routes, right? Like to run routes to get open. and he's just not very good at it. So I think that the hype, and I don't want to say expectation, but the ceiling and the archetype for him is that Debo Samuel role. But I just don't think he's as good as Debo Samuel, and I just don't like chasing that archetype because it's so hard to hit on it. That like I'm just willing to be wrong and eat it. But
Okay.
Xavier gets one of those guys that I'll probably have zero.
Wow, 0. Okay, nice. Okay, let's move on to the NFC West. I gotta pee quickly, so talk to San Francisco while I'm quickly pee.
The 49ers. This offense is going to be really good. They're definitely in for a bounce back as long as everybody stays healthy. Ricky Pearsall, if you follow me on Twitter at AQFresh, I'm all in on Ricky Pearsall. Whenever I post exposures, he's the top receiver on my list. He's a guy that I'm really going all in on. He had a monster stretch to end last season. A lot of folks like Juwan Jennings. Had a breakout last year. We mentioned at the beginning of the article, or the beginning of the episode from the article, that if you were to take Juwan Jennings with your Brock Purdy stacks, I mean, you did really well for yourself. But I'm not going to take the bet on a career wide receiver 4 or 5 that had a year, like 4 or 5 breakout. Like, I'm just not going to take that bet over a guy, like I said, like Ricky Pearsall, who has a first round draft capital, was explosive last year. And I just expect to continue to get better. So I am definitely going to target Pearsall of the big 3 wide receivers. We didn't even mention Ayuk. I don't really know what I'm doing with Ayuk because he is going to be on the pup to start the year. He's going to miss at least 6 games.
Yeah, full fade. Yeah.
Yeah, there's the expectation that he might be at least 8 weeks, and then you got to think of the ramp up time, and then they have a week 14 bye. So it's like, for me, Brandon Ayuk has just become a pretty tough click unless he really falls and you get him as like your wide receiver 6 or maybe 5. Just because, like I mentioned a short while ago, these contests tend to reward like the back-weighted production. So like I can see a world where that happens, but it's a tough click for me knowing he's going to miss at least probably half the season. And then, like I said, the ramp-up time and then the bye week in week 14. I think they have a week 14 bye. Just a tough click for me.
So I like Pearsall, but I'm not with you on Jennings. I think he really kind of actually made the leap. He's such a big target, right? 3rd and Juwan, every down Juwan, whatever. But it's just the first read share he has with Purdy is just so high. I love it. I love it. I love all those wide receivers in that range. I'm just big on Jennings. I click him all the time. And then
Oh no, go ahead.
Oh, and then then we got CMC. But so what about Grendo, right? Grendo looked really good in those couple games when Mason and CMC were out. Are you fading CMC by taking Grendo? What are we doing?
That's exactly what I'm doing. That's exactly what I'm doing. And I mean, look, CMC can be great. He think he's all the way up to ADP 7 or 8.
Yeah.
In your best ball drafts, I would just much rather take the receivers in the back half of the first round. I love Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., Nico Collins, Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's the one I was missing. Even Puka Nacua. Like I'd rather take them than Christian McCaffrey. So, and then just to kind of hedge that, I am taking quite a bit. I think last I looked a day or two ago, I was at like 14% Garendo. So yeah, that's the bet that I'm making.
Yeah, I really like him staying healthy. We'll see, especially if they get Trent Williams back. That he is their O-line. But I've just been obsessed with. Jason was on the pod, I think, right after the Super Bowl or something, and he talked about the Niners having that 4th place schedule, and it's just been stuck in my head forever. That I just think I've looked at their schedule, and it's like they play Atlanta like every other game. Right? It's just like bad defenses. I think they're going to be putting up 35 again. FU season bounce, So I'm all in all the Niners. It's Jennings, Pearsall, Garendo, obviously Kittle, and then I love getting Brock Purdy. So it's like that team's a full buy outside of CMC for me.
Yeah, I love getting Pearsall, Kittle stacks, and then go ahead and just tack on Brock Purdy right around pick 100 or so. That's one of the things I like to do. Kittle is actually, his ADP has climbed quite a bit. Like a month or so ago, you were able to get him in the 50s, but now he's all the way up to, I think, 41 is his ADP. So he's really kind of climbed up the board, but I'm still going to click there a little bit, a little less than I was in the 50s, but I'm still happy to click George Kittle in the 40s.
Yeah. Okay. So everyone, make sure if you're on YouTube, on Twitter, jump to YouTube. We're going to wrap up in a few minutes. So make sure to check out Anthony's article. We've just been touching on it briefly here. There's this whole steak, there's potatoes, and some dessert. And make sure you get our draft guide, right? We're dropping articles every day. Podcast is just teased it. I'm doing threads on Twitter. I promise you that the draft guide is going to be the silver bullet towards helping you win your league. Okay, let's go Seattle, right? So they were kind of a mess last year. They were super pass heavy. The O-line's terrible. It's gotten, I don't know if it's that much better, but they got rid of Geno, brought in Darnold, got rid of DK, got rid of Lockett. What are we doing with Seattle?
Seattle's really interesting. I am buying JSN. I'll definitely say. I think
Spoiler alert, he will be my highest ranked player on the Mosales 200, differentiates from the traditional lists.
JSN, why JSN the number one overall player for you?
No, but the biggest discrepancy,
Oh, okay.
Right,
where are you at?
I'm in. I have him. I had him right where Drake London is before I saw the Drake London Penix stats. So I have him just as a usage freak, run every route. No competition for targets. So
you have two questions to piggyback that. We're gonna flip roles here. It looks like so. You have JSN what in like a wide receiver 12? If you had him with Penix, I'm just assuming you had Penix or London. I'm assuming you had London in the top 12.
I would take JSN at wide receiver 10. I would take him before AJ Brown.
Wow, that is. I don't hate that. That's a take. That's a take. Okay, so then my follow-up question is, or my second question, it's not really a follow-up. You said that there's no competition for targets. What are you doing with Cooper Kupp?
The biggest fade in the history of the planet.
Wow.
I wouldn't take him for free.
Hard fade.
I loved him. I remember week 1, Puka got hurt. He got like 20 targets. I remember Brian was like, "Oh, Cooper, Triple Crown season back." But the separation stats have gone to 0. He was running like just 5-yard outs. Puka's taking all the deep routes, right? Like all Cooper's going to give you is about 5 catches, 50 yards, and he also can't stay healthy. So, I think it's going to be like Randy Moss in the Pats late in his career, where he's just a dummy decoy. And he's just taking people with him, and JSN is just going to eat like we've never seen. 150 targets, 120 catches, 1,500 yards, 12 touchdowns. Top wide receiver 5 season incoming. Boom.
Top 5.
Yeah.
So is that a hotter take than my Falcons as the best offense in football?
I don't know. They're both pretty. They're both pretty hot, and they got to take over some super, star teams and receivers to get there. But.
No, I like it though. That's a good one. I've definitely been getting my JSN exposure up. You think he was going in like the early to mid 20s for a while, but he's slid down to the early 30s, and I've been clicking him quite a bit in the 3rd round.
Yeah, I mean, like draft day, it's the Mac. No matter what, I've got JSN. No matter what, he's just not going to not be on my team. Okay, what do we do? What do we do with the running backs, right? We got Kenneth Walker, Charbonnet. Charbonnet was the RB1 week 15, which helped a lot of people advance. Walker's injury prone, but he's also explosive, and he showed real dual threat ability. He had, I think, 20, 30 more catches than any of his career seasons before, but the O-line still sucks. Do you think they're going to go bell cow? They're going to committee?
When Ken Walker plays, they typically have used him as the bell cow, I think, right?
Yeah.
So like the bet on him is that he's going to stay healthy. He's already dealing with an ankle injury. I largely lean out on Ken Walker. I'll take him if he falls a bit and I'm in need of a running back and there's just nobody else there. But I'm largely out. on Ken Walker for the most part. So that means that I am hedging that with some Zach Charbonnet.
Okay, because Charbonnet looked pretty good. He had some really nice weeks. He's dual threat too, but with Walker getting his receiving game up so much, I'm a little worried Walker will have to get hurt for Charbonnet to take over. But it's not one of those Bucky, Rashad White situations because Kenneth Walker is really good, but he's had problems staying healthy. I know Seattle's talked about pivoting to a run heavy approach after last season. So it's a tough one. Would you ever take both? Would you take Walker and Charbonnet, or is that just counterintuitive for best ball?
No, so it depends who you ask, right? I think I'm in the minority in that I actually really like pairing backfield mates. I think it's a little bit contrarian. It also worked for me last year when I took Zach Moss and Chase Brown both in the same draft, and it was my big money draft, the one I won the most money on. So I may be a little bit biased to it, but I'm definitely taking both. I'm happy to spend 2 picks to lock up theoretically an RB1 every week. Because if Ken Walker doesn't play or takes a vacation or wins the lottery or just decides he wants to spend a week with his family or whatever, Zach Charbonnet has proven that he can be the RB1 on any given week, right? So I'm happy to take both.
Okay, yeah, I love the idea of taking both running backs in the backfield. I got my couple buddies draft I do. They tried to get Gibbs in Montgomery. The one guy got Gibbs. It was an auction, so the other guy just paid a fortune to get Montgomery. He's still pissed about it.
That would be a good one, especially because Gibbs and Montgomery, I think last season, or maybe it was a season before that, they were both RB2s or better every single week. Both of them, except for maybe one week. But you were locked into a top 24 play. You could have had both of them, and you would have been set for your 2 starting running backs.
Yeah, it's the best. But so do we like Seattle? So it's Darnold only 1 year. Now he's going to probably a worse coach, a worse O-line, worse weapons. Do you think he can strike lightning in a bottle twice, or are we going to see the old Darnold?
I think it'll be somewhere in the middle. I don't think he's just going to go back to seeing ghosts, but I don't know that we're going to get what we got last season.
Okay, because also the book was kind of out, right? The Rams, week 16 or something, or I don't know, Rams Lions. One of them just started blitzing, the hell out of him, and that showed that was the book on him. So now with Seattle, with their bad O-line, if you can just blitz them like they do Tua, I mean, it might be a nightmare. So I don't know. Yeah. Do you know who this backup QB on Seattle is since Howell's on Minnesota?
It would be Drew Lock, and then obviously they drafted Jalen Milroe. But I think I saw that they pretty much said that look, Jalen Milroe is going to need some time. This isn't going to be. They're not going to throw him out like they did with Anthony Richardson in Indy. I think that they realize this is going to be a little bit of a project here. So my presumption is that should something happen to Sam Darnold, it's going to be Drew Lock. And we saw Drew Lock. Granted, it was in New York with the Giants, and that's just a disaster in itself. But it wasn't very good, aside for the 1 week when they played the Colts, actually. But I like Darnold. I don't love Darnold, but I think that he's going in the 170s. So he's the last starting quarterback before you get to Shuck and whoever it is for Cleveland and whatever. He's the last starting quarterback that I'm okay, if I have a JSN or something and I need a third quarterback or a second quarterback, I'm fine taking him. I really don't have too many issues with it. But he's not a guy I'm definitely targeting Sam.
It's funny because you got to prove it twice, I guess, because Baker I think was a QB 10 2 years ago, but everyone thought it was a one-off. And then last year he was dominating without Evans and Godwin, right? So maybe it's the same thing. Darnold figured it out, although he switched teams, but maybe now Darnold's just a guy. He's going to be, have a top 10 season, 35 touchdowns, 4,000 yards. But it's going to be uphill. I think it's going to be tough for him, but I'm okay with him being the QB for JSN. It's not the best, but it's not too bad.
I think that it'll more so be instead of the Baker Mayfield where he had a breakout season and then he kind of did it again and we're expecting him to just do it again, right? This is who Baker Mayfield is now. I think Sam Darnold probably is going to fall more so into the Geno Smith bucket where Geno Smith was, journeyman, blah, blah, blah. He ended up really having a great season when he got the chance for Seattle. And then he kind of took a step back. Wasn't like terrible.
I think he's still top 4 in passing yards.
Yeah, but really?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Okay, that's interesting. I wouldn't have guessed that. But I mean, he wasn't as good for fantasy purposes, I guess.
No, he didn't score touchdowns.
I think we can say that. So still serviceable, but like not great. And I think that's ultimately what Darnold's going to end up being. It's kind of one of those quarterback like 15, 16, 18-ish kind of guys that gives you spikes.
But yeah, in the right matchup. Okay, we got one more team left, then we're going to wrap up. We've been going an hour. This has been great. All right, Arizona. Arizona's kind of like, I don't know. I just kind of hate Kyler Murray. I felt like every time I would back him, he would no-show. He just drives me crazy. But he's he had the bounce back season, dual threat. They got Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride, James Conner might have one great season left in him. Defense still isn't very good, so they should be high scoring. I don't know. Where are you with Kyler? And then let's talk about the other guys.
I think Kyler's fine. He offers that rushing upside. He's not. I don't think that we're going to get that elite Kyler Murray that I think a lot of people thought we were going to get when he was drafted.
Second year season, I think he was like QB2. He had like 10 rushing touchdowns, 800 rushing yards. Yeah, that guy's gone.
Yeah. Like I don't think that guy's ever coming back, but I think that he's definitely good enough that he can support a good offense, a good fantasy football offense too. And I think that he can definitely have his spike weeks because of his rushing ability and the way that he can just extend plays. I think we all remember, I think it was last season where he just kind of ran around in circles for like 20, 25 seconds and then just like found somebody in the end zone. And I think they won the game. So, I mean, he has those wow moments. He has those wow games. But we're not going to get it every week from Kyler Murray. Like I think that we would like to.
But his inability to connect with Marvin Harrison Jr., right? I think what did he have? 130 yards in the first quarter in week 2, and I think Marvin Harrison 2 touchdowns. He was the wide receiver 1 in only a quarter, but then he didn't throw to him week 1, and then he didn't really throw to him much in the rest of the season. And it took Trey McBride until week 17 to score a receiving touchdown. It's just like I don't know what's going on there. It's just a mess. But Trey McBride may be on the cover of the Mosales 200. I think we're getting the Travis Kelce 2002 season where he was, I think, 5 fantasy points more than the tight end 2. I don't know about this season, but I think we're getting the monster tight end, super Trey McBride, touchdown, positive regression, superstar season. So
I'm there. I'm with you. I think that Trey McBride is going to be – I think he's going to be incredible this year. I'm in Scott Fishbowl this year, and I have the 9th pick, and I actually am expecting to be on the clock here any minute. I think we were through pick 7 last time I looked. And hopefully the guy that's picking 8th isn't watching because I do plan on taking Trey McBride.
Oh, wow. Nice.
It's so the Scott Fishbowl stat, the scoring is insane. So it's 3.5 points per reception for tight ends. And everyone else is 2.5 points. So like there's like an extra bonus. So like I'm gonna take the tight end that is the wide receiver 1. Brock Bowers already went. He went, I think, 5th. In my drafts, like I want that advantage.
Yeah, I want it without the bonus. Okay.
I would say, and like you said, I definitely see he's not going to just score 2 touchdowns again this season, even if he just scores 6 touchdowns, which is like not even like I don't even think that's really a lot. If he scores 6 touchdowns, we're having a very different conversation about Trey McBride if he had 6 touchdowns this year instead of 2.
Okay, we're going to wrap up quickly with Trey Benson because Canlo is big on Trey Benson. He was kind of terrible last year. We got James Conner at that RB cliff. He got hurt at the end of the season. Do we like Trey Benson at all? Is he kind of one of those second-year running backs you're targeting?
So stop me if you see a trend here, but I am fading the aging James Conner for the younger Trey Benson. So yeah, I think Trey Benson, he has the chance to really overtake Conner this year at the age. Conner hasn't always been the model of health, although he's played through a lot of injuries. He's a tough dude. But
recently,
yeah. But so I think that Trey Benson is going to get a bit more involved this season.
Okay. So that's pretty much going to do it for us. So remember, check out Sport Ethos, check out the draft guide, check out, we got our Discord at Fantasy NFL. We got Anthony's at AQ Fresh. I'm at John Mosales. Subscribe to our YouTube feed, right? We're dropping pods every week. Anthony's probably going to come on another couple of weeks. We'll do a draft. We're maybe planning to do a big 250 draft later in the summer. If I can convince him and then maybe give him some money. That'll be pay-per-view. It'll show us where all our cards are at. Anthony, any last words before we get out of here?
No, just go check out the article. It was a lot of fun to write. I think it was awesome. I want to highlight just quickly.
You got time. Don't take it.
One more of my favorite guys, although he's in the free portion of the article, but that's fine. Keaton Mitchell is a guy that I'm taking Keaton Mitchell in the 17th round. I might even take him in the 16th round if I'm going in on Baltimore or Green Bay, who they play week 17. I'm taking Keaton Mitchell. I'm taking him early because I just think that
I'll take him at 15.
Yeah, like I really don't believe in Justice Hill very much. He's been fine. But look, we saw it not last year because Keaton Mitchell was essentially hurt all last year. But in his rookie season, when in the 8 games he played, like he averaged guess his yards per carry.
6.7.
Right. And I know you were trying to be generous, but it's more than that.
7.3?
8.4 yards per carry. And we all know how Derrick Henry can get game scripted out. Like if the Ravens go down by a lot, like
Derrick Henry, they don't get down by a lot.
No, generally speaking, they don't. But there are those games, like once or twice a year they do, and it's those games where Derrick Henry gets 7 carries for 35 yards and no touchdowns because they don't have the opportunity to use him. May I interest you in Keaton Mitchell at 208 for free?
And if Henry gets hurt, Keaton Mitchell could be a top 20 running back, right? Like,
yes, Keaton Mitchell. Ooh. So bear with me here, right? So it's obviously that 8.4 yards per carry number is probably pretty unsustainable.
Probably.
Does Keaton Mitchell have sneaky top 12 upside if anything were to happen to Derrick Henry? In that offense? Offense that likes to run the ball, that has the decoy. I mean, Lamar Jackson is not a decoy because he's a phenomenal runner. But, think about it.
Okay. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. This has been great. Always love having Anthony on. Check us back next week. Another pod, another something, and we'll be dropping articles every day. Okay. Cheers.